We're back on? All right. So we were saying that just the idea of saying I have a great, that feels great, I had a amazing feeling, you have to ask yourself two things. The first thing you have to say is, how did you get there? Is it mashru'ah by legitimate scholars of Islamic law in the four schools of thought? If it is, okay, good. Number two, what are you leaving it with? What ideas are you concluding from these spiritual experiences? Are they lawful in the Sharia? That's it. Are they valid in our aqidah? So you have to measure them, because it is not just possible, but it's very common too, that people get misled. That's why he says, from the shurut of uzla, the shurut of someone who's going to spend a lot of time alone, is you have to learn your aqidah properly. You have to learn your sharia properly. You have to learn really epistemology too. I had this amazing dream. Okay, but I can't go act on it right away. You cannot. You have to act upon it according to sharia and according to urf. Right? People can really hurt themselves by doing this. Like, can you lift without a spotter? The heavier the weights, the better the spotter has to be, right? Got to have spotters. So he then says, عقد توحيده لكي لا يستهويه الشيطان بوسوسته ثم يحصل من علوم الشرع ما يؤدي به فرضه. Of course, he has to know his obligations, his fara'id, so that if ibadah becomes so beloved to him, he then doesn't go off and do good things, leaving off more important things. So what's important for our abid to know is what is more important. And there is, for example, concepts of betrayal. If you were to go and see someone making a terrible mistake or dhulm or error in religion or something like that, and you say, okay, well, I'm going to go do ibadah in the masjid, you betrayed him. And you left what is more important for what is what is good but less important at that moment. And as a result of that, your athim, that ibadah is, that ibadah is not going to be accepted. You've abandoned what is far more important. They said, for example, if a man goes through a marketplace to the mosque, an imam, and he just sees a riba happening everywhere. Riba, everywhere. He's doing riba. Then he gets to the masjid and he gives a khutbah about zina. He's betrayed the people and his khutbah is invalid, unaccepted. He has no reward for that. Actually, he gets sins for that. He's literally abandoned them, people. He's betrayed them. You leave someone, you see someone, essentially it's like this. You see someone walking into a ditch, right? And you see someone selling lemonade. And you buy the lemonade from the little kid saying, it's sadaqah. Buy lemonade from a little kid for his little baseball team. Sadaqah. But you let the person walk into a ditch. All your good deed is completely unaccepted. You have no reward here for that. So this is the idea here of knowing Sharia, is to know what's more required. And there are times when uzla cannot be except a little bit, because you're needed, and especially in the front lines. Sheikh Babikr al-Sudani once said that his sheikh told him, and his sheikh was al-Fatih Qaribullah. Omar, if you get a second, you put up a picture of Fatih Qaribullah from Sudan. No, Sammaniya. No, that's the son. There he is. No. Nope. Yes. Put up the picture of Sheikh Fatih Qaribullah. That's his sheikh. And he said, son, this is no longer the era of khalwa and uzla, like the old days, such that a person would become like enlightened in that way and reach those levels of ma'arif and ma'rifah. He said, this is the era you draw near to Allah by khidmah. And uzla is a little bit here on the side. It's by khidmah. The ummah is in like dire need. It's all, everyone has to be in complete state of khidmah at some point in time with whatever skill that you have. والعزلة في الحقيقة اعتزال الخصال المذمومة والتأثير لتبديل الصفات لا للتنائي عن الأوطان. Uzla in reality is the abandonment of bad qualities in yourself and putting in good qualities in yourself. Has nothing to do with leaving your country. In other words, leaving the town and go and live on the hills. That's what he means by that. That's not what it is. What's the point of that if you're just not gonna change? So he says, really, what the effect that you're looking for is that uzla is the alteration of yourself. That's the benefit. It could actually be better off for you to be keeping people's company if they're changing you than to be in uzla. Now, why would a young man, at some point, a young man may not benefit anymore from uzla, right? If he doesn't even know what's bad about himself because he's still young. So better off for him be put out there in the world and you scrape. It's like things, when you're rubbing against each other, you see what's under the surface, and now you discover, I have an anger problem. If you're an only child, you never know you have an anger problem. There's no one there to bother you. If you're an only child, you never know if you're stingy or generous. You never have to share anything. There are households with 5 and 6 and 8 and 9 people in the households. The moment a pizza is brought into the household, your stinginess and greed is exposed. Okay? It's unfathomable now in such a household to go in and take. It's like the worst akhlaq. You have to now call everybody, make sure everyone has a piece. Hold on, make sure so-and-so's not here. Leave him a piece. All of a sudden, pass it around. Pass it around. Let the brothers eat. Eat while it's hot. What did you bring us, Fat?
It's crispy chicken rolls.
Crispy chicken rolls. These guys are innovating.
Yeah, you gotta put the sauce on it. It's no good without the sauce.
What kind of sauce? Buffalo?
It's a special sauce.
All right. You don't want to give away the recipe.
I can't give it away now. It's a secret sauce.
Pass it around and eat it. I'm going to eat after. Inshallah. Because, yeah, keep it here. If there's, no, give it to the brothers if there's any left. These are travelers or passers-by. يجوز فيهم الزكاة. Give zakat. Here, take some zakat. Yeah. If you live alone, if you live in a big group of people, as soon as food comes, you have to think, is everyone going to get some? So that's a mature way of handling sustenance and provisions. When you live alone, if it's you and your mom and dad, and your mom comes home and puts down a box of pizza, you just open it and eat. You don't think twice, right? It's never going to run out. If there's a bag of chips, it's all yours. Everything, imagine that. Everything is yours all the time when you're an only child. But the moment now you have multiple people in the house and you go in on these chips, you have to think twice. So some people, if they stay like that and then they go in uzla, it's useless for them. What's best for him is actually to mingle with people, to be put in different scenarios, to see how annoying he actually is, to see how unforgiving he is. Like, imagine someone, he's never been told no, he's never been offended. You don't know how big your ego is and how sensitive it is until you're in a situation someone puts you down or ignores you, right? Mixing is really good. And you know, when one of my critiques of homeschooling, one of the critiques of homeschooling, there are ways around it, but homeschooling has a lot of good qualities. I'm not saying it's not good, but I'll tell you one of the tweaks is you'd literally only socialize with who your family approves of in most cases, right? Now, you want a little bit of say, but not too much say. You want a little bit of say, like, I don't want my kids, for example, being exposed to something so far away from Sharia. I don't want them being with, I don't know, people who are so far off from Islam, then they would be negatively influenced. But at the same time, if they're only with my group of friends, they become soft because everyone's nice. But if they go to a place with a company that in general I approve of, and in general they're good, but we don't know them, they're not going to treat my kid special. And then the kid gets ignored. Or, kids are cruel, right? Ignored, maybe made fun. Maybe he has to scratch. He has to get scratched a bit. He has to get offended a little bit. He learns. He becomes better. He becomes hardened to that in a good way, I'm saying. So too much protection from company like that is not good. So that's why it's always better sometimes for people to be out in the world, offended, to discover all their flaws. Then the khalwa has a benefit. Now you can sit alone every day and think, why do I get so angry? Why is my lust out of control? Why am I greedy? You got to do the introspection. But you don't have anything to introspect if you never scratched up with people and got to see your flaws. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, to be out with the people and be patient with their harm is better than to be away from them, because you benefit them, but they also show you your flaws when you interact with them. Got to know your weaknesses. It's always also better to overinflate overinflate others and blame yourself. In other words, don't blame others and overinflate your rivals, maybe you could say, and give them more benefit of the doubt and put more blame on yourself. So that's really the purpose of uzla, is to get rid of these qualities. And if uzla doesn't help you in doing that, I think you take a lot of these people and give them uzla, they may be deluded. Because they may have spiritual experiences, which is going to happen when you're all alone and doing a lot of dhikr. Spiritual experience on top of somebody who's has stinginess, anger, greed, selfishness, and he doesn't even know it. That's really bad now. That's terrible. That's like giving a person a lot of knowledge when he's a worldly person and he loves the dunya. He's going to use his sharia knowledge only for dunya. Not good. Mr. Curry Swag says, can you talk about the United CEO and the ethics behind Luigi's decision to kill the guy? Decision during the Q&A. I'm at work, so I have to dip. Yeah, I had some advice on Luigi. He doesn't know how to commit murder properly. I'm telling you, he gave himself... Does he want to get caught? Or is he just not bright? He's not. I know he's bright because he graduated
Master's 10 on it.
UPenn, valedictorian. You know he's smart. But clearly something happened where his judgment's not right anymore, because he arrived 10 days early. Why? So many people see you, right? He had his real ID in his backpack. Not smart. He committed the murder, okay, fine, in broad daylight, but it was 6 a.m. He did have a silencer. He did have a mask on. Okay. Why aren't you on the next plane to Mexico? Forget plane, car. Why aren't you on the next car down to Mexico? You just committed murder.
Sheikh, how do you know so much?
It's a good question, but commonsensically speaking, you do not show up in advance of the crime. You show up the morning of the crime. Where did they get his face from? They got a picture of his face from the CCTV of the hostel he stayed with, and there are witnesses. He stayed in a hostel, you see other people, right? He had his ID on him. He should have burned that. He went and got caught because someone made a facial ID from TV. He matched his face at a McDonald's in Pennsylvania. Why are you even on the East Coast? Like this, you want to get caught to become a martyr of the cause? So the answer, the right way to do this, let's say you know the guy's schedule, okay? It's bad to commit a crime, but to commit a crime badly is worse, right? You show up the day of, the morning of, completely masked. No ID, no nothing. You commit your crime. You are on the next car straight to Mexico. No one's ever going to see you ever again. You go to Mexico, You still wear your mask? Go, oh, keep passing Mexico. We have deals with Mexico. Mexico is part of still part of, keep going down to Chile. When you see Nazis, you're good, right? When you see all the old Nazi guys walking around, okay, then you're good. You know they're not going to catch you from here. Deep in Chile and Argentina. Then 20 years later, maybe you come back to America when your faces change. Everyone, the case is cold case. Alas. So.
What you get for supporting McDonald's? The you.
You know, they said that they were making like stereotypical jokes about like Italian men.
Yeah.
Like resistance, or like I guess chef or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
He just couldn't stop. Like he took his mask off to talk to.
Yeah, he couldn't stop.
He took his mask off to eat.
Yeah.
And then, like he had like a distinct like thick eyebrows. Like why don't you just like shave it?
Yeah.
You know?
Trim your unique facial appearance. No beard, then grow a beard. You know, black hair, make it brown hair.
Not wear one of those like COVID masks. Like
Yeah.
proper like balaclava.
No, be out of sight completely. Be in a car on the way down south, out of the country completely. That's how you're gonna be able to get away with it. And probably all his cousins and his uncles are just fuming at how they know how to kill people, right? All his cousins and uncles, I'm sure, they're like the new generation. That's probably what Mario somewhere at some pizzeria is saying to his friends. Look at this new generation. They don't even know how to commit murder properly, right?
Chat.
Question, yes. Go ahead.
So this is actually something that's kind of spreading, like the idea of the utilitarian, underpinning behind what he did.
Yeah.
So, oh mashallah,
Who do we have here?
Imam Safwan.
Imam Safwan, Allahu Akbar. Cometh, waq'ud ma'al qa'idin. Ta'ala ya. Bringeth, cometh. Look at the place opened up like the Red Sea.
I didn't know you were rolling so deep, man.
Imam Safwan cometh. Yeah, we're live. Yeah. Put his mic on. Cometh waq'ud ma'al qa'idin.
I was just coming to see you.
Salam.
From Atlanta. Allahu Akbar.
My man looking great. MashaAllah.
Yeah, this is
Tfaddal qa'ud ma'al qa'idin. How are you, my man? Give this man a piece of chicken.
no chicken. Sure. I'm going to eat. What's the count?
You see, loyalty to the restaurant. He doesn't need opposing chickens anymore.
Not public yet.
Not public yet. Okay, we'll keep that silent then. So, by the way, ZX82 is saying, how do we know if Sakina is real or from Shaitan? You don't have to worry about that. You worry about how did you get there and what are you leaving with. If it's mashru' on both ways, you say it's from Allah. That's how it is. We have husn al-dhanni billah. If I got to that Sakina through ibadah, mashru'a, maqbula, khalas, then you have nothing to worry about. But if you're leaving with any conclusions that are good and mashru'a and acceptable, then khalas, that's all you have to worry about, right? And mostly that will be the case. That's mostly the case. Imam Safwan, how are you?
I'm good.
Tell us about
How you doing?
this organization that you started.
Oh yeah! Wow! Look at that.
Because you know your boy, Sharoz has been sending me clips.
Yeah.
And you guys are looking good in that live stream.
Rose is co-hosting. Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Tell us, what is it?
So it's called Asli.
Mhm.
So Asli is obviously authentic, real, right? But it's actually a double branding.
Yeah.
Which is American Servant Leadership Institute.
Yeah.
So basically, we're developing a curriculum and a pathway for servant leadership, either on the road to or opposed to becoming a scholar. So most of the madrasas and these types of things we've developed a kind of all or nothing type of mentality where it's like either you're a sheikh or you're a layman or you're a businessman, or right. But obviously our ummah needs more than just mashayikh. So if you're going into entrepreneurship or if you're leading the ummah in some way, volunteering for masajid or whatever it may be, you need to have a particular set of skills, which include aqidah and fiqh and tazkiyah. and includes some of usul and includes some of qawaid fiqhiyya and includes
That's beautiful. Like a
you know,
literacy, general literacy.
yeah, I think it's a type of malaka for the specific type of person. So they need to be authoritative in certain spaces, but they don't necessarily need to spend time in other spaces. So it's just someone who's kind of walked that path a little bit, has scholars, and wants to kind of build this network of servant leaders. But I think it's more than that too.
Yeah.
You know, being an imam for about a decade, all of my 20s and now into my 30s, I've made a lot of mistakes and I've come up with a lot of solutions as well.
Good.
So, alhamdulillah.
And how would a person be part of it?
So the basics of it is there is a program that's specifically for imams. And that will be something where we start with apprenticeship. That there's been kind of a misplaced emphasis on the kind of academic side of it, when in reality, what makes great scholars is sohbah with great scholars.
Exactly.
Right? So we've kind of made the foundation of the model apprenticeship.
That's great.
Where, you know, we could have imams like yourself as these kind of apprentices, or they're fielding apprentices, and someone would be able to spend 3 months with you or 6 months with you, and what it may be, with a kind of specific learning outcome and objectives and experience that they're getting from you.
Is it go beyond imams? Let's say I
does.
want to be an entrepreneur. You connect me with a Muslim entrepreneur?
Exactly.
That's great.
So we have a servant leadership and a servant entrepreneurship pathway.
That's amazing.
And so it's all developing very fast. But alhamdulillah, we're a registered nonprofit. We're 501c3 pending.
That's great.
And
What's your YouTube channel called that you're on? Or are you pre-recording
so
these?
we're not public 100% yet.
Oh, okay.
But we've made everything. We're starting to get there. But it should just be like the Asli podcast or something.
MashaAllah. Wonderful. Wonderful. He's your co-host.
So Sharoz is my legal advisor.
Yeah.
And my co-host too.
Very
And,
good.
I think he is a beautiful person. He's a very interesting person because, you know, he's kind of dabbled in music in his past, you know, career and life. And mashallah, he's in law. But he's also, you know, someone who has sent me extensive notes of his Maliki fiqh classes with you and stuff like that. So I feel like he has the right combination of attributes to kind of push this thing to the next level.
Oh, that's that kind of well-balanced person that we talked. And earlier we talked about this idea of a talent stack, which is you're good at things that have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah.
But the beauty of that is that when you are able to mix these things, you can get results that are amazing.
Yeah.
Right? It's like mixing flavors in food. And someone is really good at, let's say, Chinese cuisine and French cuisine. You bring that person, he can probably cook stuff no one else can. And that's the idea of the talent stack. What you're saying here is that you don't have to be like, you only need certain knowledge that benefits you when you're in a certain field, Shadee knowledge, that if you were to have to go to a regular imam school for that, it would be lost in the middle of things that you are not going to use.
Yeah.
So that's it makes a lot of sense what you're doing here.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, it's kind of charting a timeline for these imams. So it's like, you know, apprenticeship. So it's like you finish madrasa, or even while you're doing madrasa, it could be something where we're taking in people in high school and having them do apprenticeships with imams. So when they get into madrasa, they've already built a
seen the life.
Exactly.
They've seen that's why the kids of any discipline, they tend to be better than the people who are not kids of that discipline, because they know the life, they know the routines, they know what's critical, they've been around. Like in every field, you're gonna see people who are the kids of people in that field, and they excel because they have so much more information about the life. Yeah.
I mean, I grew up watching my father, who was an imam who served and did, mashallah, many things, from chaplaincy to university to prisons to, you know, to masajid and, you know, so many things. And, you know, I was able to get that experience. And I see students of knowledge coming up now who don't have that experience and the ways that they might struggle within, you know, kind of the masjid ecosystem and the ummah at large. So I think that, you know, just giving them a platform to build that experience But I also think that I'm also building this platform so they can learn how to develop financial independence. So that when they're, a seasoned scholar,
Yeah.
they're also financially independent.
Yeah.
And they can give their time to what they feel authentic and passionate about, rather than, because not everyone's cut out to be, just the day-to-day imam.
Yeah.
Or not everyone wants to do that, right? So we have to figure out how to expand the ecosystem of and the economy of servant leadership.
You need to have someone who doesn't do those things, because that silence and that empty schedule is what's needed to produce intellectual material. Even one of the biggest shuyukh in the Maliki school, he was asked one time if he had read a certain commentary, and he said no. And everyone was like, he teaches the highest level of Maliki books all the time. And he's like, if I keep reading all these commentaries, who's going to teach? Like, I got to be out here on the ground, on the front lines every single day. So reading commentaries and having a humongous library, and it's on multiple occasions. People have asked him, did you see this book? Did you see that commentary? Did you see that commentary? And he says, no, I never even knew about this book. I never even knew about it. And he's one of the top scholars, but he teaches the madhab.
Yeah.
But all the commentaries, if he's going to read those, who's teaching? And so usually the teacher's life is different from the researcher mufti life, which is very quiet. And Allah has different plans for different people, different temperaments for different people. And that's what you need. You need a community, Imam al-Haddad said, needs 4 types. It needs the scholars, and there are many different types, between the teacher, the researcher, the one who writes the books, and the one who teaches the people, the 2 different mentalities completely. It's like Ghazali never mingled with the people. He didn't give da'wah to shabab. He didn't do that type of thing, right? Ghazali. But others did. Others, Abdul Qadir al-Jailani was always with the people, constantly with the people, different types. Then you need the abid, the ubbad, the barakah, the people who are zuhad. And the sick fall into that, because the sick who are patient with their sickness, they are the pinnacle of ascetics. Like, they don't need to forget, you don't have stuff. They don't even have themselves, their health. So usually when you see people coming in the masjid, live in the masjid, and they're very sick, they remind you, they take the dunya, it comes right out of your heart.
SubhanAllah.
Right?
That's 100.
So you need the worshippers and the ascetics, and then you need the administrators. We underestimate this. We think it's just a necessary evil. These people sometimes are so important that a good board member can transform a community.
Yeah.
A good board can literally be the door that allows, they open the faucet or close the faucet on benefit. They could let it happen and support it, or they could close it, right? And if they're knowledgeable, they'll also know the right person to put in place. So board members and community leaders are critical. And then you have, finally, who's going to finance it all? The entrepreneur businessmen, the Sayyidina Abdurrahman bin Auf, Uthman ibn Affan type of people are needed. Who's going to finance all this effort? So that's where they say Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali fit in this. They fit as these 4. Abu Bakr being the scholar, Umar ibn Khattab being the leader, the administrator, Uthman ibn Affan being the entrepreneur, the financier, I should say, the financier, and Sayyidina Ali being representing the ascetic. Of course, all of them had everything, but which one did they have more of? Right? And that's how your ummah's balanced, and diverse, and it grows. It's a great initiative.
Absolutely. And as you know, the last 100 years, particularly Tasawwuf has been kind of removed from mainstream learning.
Yeah.
And to be a leader, you need to master a great deal of Tasawwuf.
100%.
And that's why repeatedly these organizations are making the same mistakes over and over again, is because they haven't spent the time.
Yeah.
They haven't spent time with scholars. They have not spent time purifying their heart.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the critical solutions. But also from Aqidah standpoint, giving them the worldview of Islam and the decision-making tools, the alat of the tradition, so that they can operate within that, Islamic worldview.
One of the diseases of the heart that comes upon people is they begin to view themselves as a qayyum for the community, a sustainer. And many, many, many people get tricked by shaitan.
Yeah.
Say, if I don't do it, who will?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't exist before for all those centuries of Islam, right? So obviously other people did. And what you're doing now, someone did it a generation ago, and Allah removed them, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be here. Yeah. So that's al-Qayyum is the attribute of Allah, right? And that's where Tasawwuf is like so important for all the categories, because the faqih needs it to soften his heart from being dry and judgmental.
Right, 100%.
A bad faqih would turn off to everybody. Or he loves the dunya, so he misuses his knowledge. The Prophet said him for a reason. He said the bulk of the munafiqeen are from the qurra. The bulk of hypocrites are from scholars. Then the leaders need it because they're the leaders. They're the number one person whose ego can get to him.
Yeah.
Telling everyone to do, hire this, fire this, write a check, don't write a check, you're not allowed to do this. And then, of course, the entrepreneur, his aspect of what he needs of tasawwuf, the financier, is the fear of Allah judging me for every dollar that I have. Like, that's a terrible audit. Fear the audit. If you fear the audit in this world, any smart businessman who he doesn't want to get audited, I don't want the IRS all over me, so we're going to do things right. By the book. Nothing is going to be cash under the table. It's going to be by the book. Now, some industries you literally can't do it. In some industries you literally cannot avoid paying people cash. But nonetheless, and there are bigger issues, tax fraud, all that stuff. You don't want to be audited. That's the number one thing the IRS you're aware of. So what the Muslim financier, he got a second audit coming, which is the audit of your zakah. Then you got a third every year, your zakah. That's an audit. Third audit on Yawm al-Qiyamah. It's going to be a huge audit. Do you want the headache? Right? So that's going to be the tasawwuf of the financier, is that constantly on his mind is that audit of Yawm al-Qiyamah. It's constantly on his mind. So everyone needs tasawwuf in a different way. So
how do you love accountability? Because Allah is going to hold you accountable, but you still have to love Allah.
True.
So this idea that you have to love the one who is going to hold you accountable,
SubhanAllah.
That's a matter of tasawwuf. It's like you're being evaluated by someone, and you actually have to love that person for their accountability. And in this day and age, and in every day and age, right? It's the naba al-azim that you have to undergo constant scrutiny and accountability in order to reach the dreams and the goals that you have. And
one of the best things is that you're being scared from what harms you. When Allah brings his threats of punishment, he's threatening you away from what harms you. Right? So every time that you hear you shall not, in other words, a prohibition, you have to put in harm yourself. Anything that fits in that blank is equivalent to self-harm.
Allah.
You should not look at women. Don't harm yourself. You think it's nice, but you're harming yourself. You should not do this, that. And anything that's obligatory, you should just look at as you must benefit yourself.
You must benefit yourself.
Whatever you feel. Now, for you not to understand how this is benefiting me, how this harms you, it goes back to you. Has nothing to do with the truth. Like Grand Chess Master tells you, don't move your pawn here, move it here. You just listen. Imagine you're in a chess match and a grandmaster tells you, as you have a grandmaster right next to you. So, he put his pawn right there. I want it. No, don't take it. That's what he wants you to do. He was luring you to take that pawn to open something else up 5 moves later, right? Chess master is right there talking to you. Now, what a fool that wouldn't just listen and obey without thinking, right? Listen and obey without thinking. Well, I need to know why. Okay, you will know why after 5 moves, right?
When you lose.
So when the chess master tells you to do something, Likewise, in the Sharia, when the Sharia tells you live like this, teenagers don't understand it. They rebel with their mind. They're just being teenagers. 20-year-olds, they still don't. 30, maybe around 40. If you followed the law, right? If you followed the Sharia in your teens and your 20s, you see it all in your 40s. You're like, this makes so much sense. That's everything in this scenario, in this decade of life, is literally perfect. No one's perfect, but we mean financially, no issues. Women problem, divorce, zina, mashakil, not there. Kids are rude and terrible and bad, not there. Because I had sabr with my parents, so I now have sabr with my kids. So they like me, right? What do they call it? Guy gets in his 40s and he starts going midlife crisis. Don't even know what it is. Never even heard of it, right? So people, every righteous salih Muslim of his youth, when he hits the age of 40, that's his life. Because now all the moves starting to make sense. Now all these chess moves which did not make sense. I'm not eating pawns. I'm not taking horses. I'm not taking anything, right? I'm not gaining the pawns that I see sitting right in front of me. You don't take them. Don't take them. You have positioned yourself now. Your enemy is trapped completely. Your enemy's trapped. And you're going to win this game with ease, right? So in what they call there's the beginning, then there's the middle game, and then there's the end game in chess. Right in the middle, you start seeing the benefits of discipline in the beginning. And then you reap all the rewards now. You see the rewards coming, but you reap them all in the end game when you got your queen, both rooks. I got 2 horses. I got a bunch of pawns. And this miskeen, he's got a bishop. His queen is gone. His rooks are gone. He's finished. It's just a matter of time before he's cornered into a checkmate. Let's close up Al-Risala Al-Qushayriya. You know, his sheikh is Abu Ali al-Daqqaq. Every time he says Al-Ustadh, he means Abu Ali al-Daqqaq. Listen what he says. Abu Ali al-Daqqaq. البس مع الناس ما يلبسون وتناول مما يأكلون وانفرد عنهم بالسر. O worshippers, and this is so important for those people who go study abroad and come back. Dress as the people dress, look as the people look, eat what the people eat. In other words, you want to be unique in your ibadah, be unique alone. But with the people, be as the people are. Imam Malik did not like excessive things in religion such as a beard beyond the qabda or the tattered garments of the fuqara for the zuhad. And why didn't he like that? He said that the beard beyond the qabda, it gathers attention to you. And it's besides that the Sahaba did the qabda. Qabda means you gather your beard and you cut from here. So you don't need a beard longer than your fist. Basically, you don't need from your chin to 4 fingers down. You don't need it to be longer than that. If you do, it's shuhra. Now, he's the one of the big beard, the guy with the big beard. Now people may think you're a faqih and ask you questions and stuff. And they're just giving you attention. He says it's not necessary. It's not what the Sahaba did, then no one should do it. Also, he also viewed it as like unsightly too. So that's on the beard. On the clothes, he said, don't wear the clothes of the zuhad. Then people will either attribute you as a zahid and therefore shuhra. You become famous as a worshipper. It's not good for your ego. Or he said, they'll think you're poor and give you sadaqah when you don't deserve the sadaqah. Right? So the certain clothes and certain appearances of worship and of ibadah, if you do those things, then you're just getting attention for yourself. And that's not good, to get so much attention to yourself. So he says, you want to do these, just drawing near to Allah, do that in secret. Also, imagine this. Imagine we have like a gathering right here, we're all sitting, and then someone goes off and he prays nawafil and does dhikr on the side. Like, he's like, oh, dhikr is a good thing. Yeah, but now Am I supposed to think you're so great now? We all will. That's not good for your ego. So be with the people as normal and do your special ibadah by yourself. Right? So that's what he's saying here. Last thing we'll say, take some Q&A. جاءني إنسان وقال جئتك من مسافة بعيدة فقلت له ليس هذا الحديث من حيث قطع المسافات ومقاساة الأسفار فارق نفسك بخطوة وقد حصل مقصودك. Man came to me and said, I traveled to you, Sheikh. I've traveled to you from a long distance, right? You came to see the spiritual master from a long distance. He said, no, this affair doesn't require all of that. Go away from your nafs, even at home, and you've achieved the goal. In other words, the whole goal here is to decrease from the hadh, or the portion of our ego. All right, let's take a few questions, and then we're going to break for food, because did I see a tray come in here? What is that tray, Fahd? Okay. All right, let's take a few questions here. First of all, any comments and questions from the live audience? Yes, young man, tafaddal.
When we're talking about Tasawwuf at Nuzul, and you kind of discuss like a 30 to 40 minute quiet reflection, meditative, approach. How do you feel about the longer, like more retreatful situations? And when do you need each one?
Retreatful situation with other people, or by yourself?
By yourself.
Personally speaking, the other question was, if I got the question right, what do you think of long retreats, long uzlas like that?
When do you need to decide between the short?
I think like if a person has been traumatized, like you through a bad experience, it's different. That's sort of just normal mental well-being. But if someone wants to just draw near to Allah and is going to go for long periods of time, I think you should ask somebody who's been around the block first, because you could harm yourself. Keep in mind, shaitan is also around there too. It's not just angels in the khalwa, right? Shaitan, and that's why he said earlier, he must study his aqidah first and his sharia first before he goes to khalwa, because shaitan is with you there. It's not just malaika. Shaitan is there too. So you have to just maybe consult somebody before going, and someone who knows you, someone who knows your states, right? Someone who knows if this could be harmful to you to be alone for so long. That's not normal, right? Maybe in the past, it was probably normal to be all alone for 2 weeks. Like if you're on a journey, if you're going from north to south of your country or east to west, you may actually be alone. Here in America, you see those old like cowboy and Indian movies, when he's traveling from state to state, he's all alone on a horse with a bag, and he pitches a fire, and like that was normal. Their minds could handle that back then. For us today, it might be different. All right, here's a question that says, do we believe all Sahaba are going to heaven? Some of them apostated in the Ridda wars. If someone apostated, they wouldn't be a Sahabi. Yeah. The definition of a Sahabi, we said it yesterday, is somebody who was in the presence of the Prophet ﷺ as a Muslim and died upon that same Islam. No apostasy in the middle. Okay. That's what we said. All right. Are we sinful if we ignore family members or Muslims that we do not like? No, the default is that you only owe people 5 obligatory hukuk. But family member like who? Mother and father, you can't ignore. You have to be good to them, even in worldly matters. If you don't get along in deen, at least in worldly matters. But family members, like you have a cousin who abuses you, you can ignore him. What's haram is to abandon your Muslim brother for 3 days over a worldly dispute. But someone abusing me, of course, can stay away from him. That's shara'i. That's a shara'i reason to stay away from somebody. But to say, I'm never talking to so-and-so again, I'm not going to talk to him, I hate, we're in a fight for 3 days for a worldly dispute. That's the concept of you can't abandon your brother for 3 days for a dispute related to the dunya. But if there's a shara'i reason, such as someone abuses me, of course I can stay away from him for as long as I think he'd abuse me. That's it. Same thing with other Muslims. If they abuse you, you can stay away from them. But it's always better to be with a jama'ah of normal, regular, mainstream Muslims who pray and fast, because we all need support and nobody can go without support. If you put questions before this period of time, put the question again, because I haven't seen it. All right, this question said, Syria will not have rest until a sign from Allah from the sky yells, follow this man, and points to al-Mahdi, and that's in Kitab al-Fitan. And a lot of people were talking about, no, Kitab al-Fitan by Nu'aym ibn Hammad. That's the book I was talking about a couple episodes ago, live streams ago, when I couldn't remember his name. His name is Nu'aym ibn Hammad. He is al-Bukhari's teacher in hadith. But he was of the view that signs of the end of time, you can narrate in them weak hadith. Imam Ahmad was of a different view. It's ijtihad. So his book has a lot of hadith in it, maybe weak. So you have to take it into account, because Imam Ahmad warned, if you say something is a prophecy of the Prophet and the opposite happens, you basically just said the Prophet's a liar. If it doesn't happen, that's okay, because it could happen later. But the opposite can never happen. And that's the key. But I didn't read that about Nu'aym ibn excuse me. I didn't read that about Nu'aym ibn Hammad, but he had an amazing hadith that is literally, I'm going to show it one day as a PowerPoint. I have a PowerPoint on this hadith, taking apart literally each line from his hadith and showing how they apply to ISIS. Like literally word for word, the whole hadith. It's amazing. That's the hadith that Sheikh Abdul Karim Yahya, I think, was talking about when he said, a sheikh in Yemen said, why are you worried about the Senate? The thing is right there in front of you, right? So yeah, this da'if hadith doesn't mean it can't be true. Just mean it doesn't have the strongest chain. But when we actually see it right in front of us, then it was true, right? It clearly was true. Can a dream be actual reality as opposed to symbols? Yes, there is a type of true dream which is exactly as it is. Prophet ﷺ said, I saw us in making Umrah, right? That was not a symbolic dream. That was actually that the Sahaba will perform Umrah, and they did. I did perform Umrah. 2 minutes of quick fire, then we break. Then, because can we afford to eat before Maghrib? Yeah, maybe we can. Okay, let's do quick fire 2 minutes, and then we eat until Maghrib.
Okay, so someone's asking, is it possible for us to have a caliphate before al-Mahdi?
There's nothing by Sharia that indicates that it will, and nothing that forbids it from possibly happening.
Someone's saying, do you know if in the Maliki method we can invest stocks in silver/gold mines? And if so, do you have some recommendations?
No, I don't know any. I can't give you advice on that. By the way, it's probably illegal. I think it's illegal to give financial advice in public without a certificate, without a license.
I found a man with good deen and character, but I feel too shy to ask him for marriage. I have no father or brothers. Should I wait for him to ask me?
Repeat.
She's saying she found a man with good deen and character, but she's too shy to ask him for marriage, and she doesn't have any father or brothers. Should I wait for him to ask me?
Well, you can ask somebody else that you know that's related or that's in close to you to signal to him, not propose right away, but see if he's interested without it being looking like you're asking.
Why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instruct Ahlul Kitab to judge by the scriptures if they're already corrupted?
Oh, that is a question that actually we talked about that the other day in the perennialism live stream, where the Mufassirin said that it's what was it they called it, like ta'ajjub? Yeah. It's like, hold on a second, why are you asking the Prophet? You don't believe in him and you believe that Torah is haqq, right? Rule by your book. It's almost like what's the right word for that?
Something balagha, I forget what it's called.
Yeah, it's like ta'ajjub, or it's like a challenge almost, or showing your inconsistency, right? Secondly, by Sharia, Dhimmis rule by their book, by Sharia. Dhimmis rule by their book. Two Yahud have a debate in the old days in the Khilafah, or in the old Islamic countries like the Ottoman Empire back in history. And they come to an Islamic court. The Muslim judges say, you go rule by your book. You get a rabbi to judge between you, because you're acting based upon your law. How could you do tahakum by another law? Right? That doesn't make any sense. You two people in New Jersey go to California and say we had a dispute in New Jersey. California is going to say go back to New Jersey. So even by Sharia, we are telling them go rule by yourselves. When two Yahud have a problem or two Nasara had a problem, go let your priests rule over you or judge between you. So it's no different. Just we believe it's a muharraf. We believe the book is abrogated, and even before the besides the abrogation, it's altered. We also, Sharia requires them to judge between themselves. So the concept that the Sharia asks them or demands them to judge amongst themselves does not mean we believe it. Likewise, marriage between a Muslim and a Jew and Christian is lawful. Female, it's lawful. Doesn't mean that we believe in their aqeedah is correct. Next question.
Someone's asking, does fighting alongside non-Muslims in jihad make one a disbeliever?
You mean if a non-Muslim makes jihad with a Muslim?
Or someone is a Muslim?
You mean, I think they just mean war by that.
Yeah.
Well, the question is the war lawful or not? That means Chile invades Argentina. I'm in Chile. I don't want my country invaded by Argentina. You have the right to defend yourself. That's part of defending your home. Your home is just not this. Your home is also North Brunswick, and then Middlesex County, then all of New Jersey, then all the United States. So if people were coming to invade ruin your country, it's very much akin, by analogy, to ruining your home. And if you die protecting your home, you're a shaheed. It's a valid war.
Someone's asking, how can you tell that when a person is using the Sharia knowledge for dunya purposes, particularly with people who are very pious outwardly? Who seem very pious.
Repeat that question again.
How can you tell when someone's using the Sharia for dunya purposes, dunyawi purposes, especially with people who look very pious outwardly?
Yeah. We just have to look at the ruling of what they're doing. We can't judge their heart, but you just look at the ruling. When the Quran says selling the word of Allah for a low price, it means lying about the religion for money, to earn favor from somebody. It doesn't mean selling services, religious services like janazah services, teaching Quran for money, selling a book, selling a class. Having tuition, that's not what's meant. What's meant is telling lies, twisting the Sharia to please the wealthy or the influential so you can win influence with them. That's the meaning of selling your religion for a low price.
Someone saying, you talk about socializing a lot, so what's your advice for people who never socialized before? How do we start? It's very hard when you become an antisocial person. Yeah,
but we can teach you one thing at a time. Go to the masjid and just smile, say Assalamu alaikum to people. That's it. That's your step one. For the anti-social club members, you know that T-shirt everyone, that hoodie everyone wears. For anti-social club members, social club. Now to re-socialize, your first step: go to the mosque. The person, anytime someone's near you, just smile, say Assalamu alaikum. That's it. Then step 2 is going to be Assalamu alaikum. Beautiful day out, right? Stuff that's like neutral, right? Little by little, you learn, and then listen and watch other people how they socialize. Some people, they really don't know. First time, it's a 15-minute conversation. Nah, that's awkward, right? Or from the first time, my dad died when I was 8. There's no way I can match this, right? So sometimes you see this, that someone is antisocial, trying to be social, then it backfires badly. So what happens? They become more antisocial. Because the people are bad. No, the people are not bad. You are weird, right? You're weird, right? So you have to learn very slowly how to socialize by saying innocent things, just saying Assalamu alaikum, not being too personal, not digging too deep, stuff like that. And a lot of people can teach you this. Next.
The chicken is waiting. Yes, it is. To be eaten. What else?
One more question. Yeah, we're leaving these brothers hungry, and they're travelers and abir sabils, and eligible for zakat, all of them. Last question.
Let's get a good one. How do I? No, actually, that doesn't even make sense. I'll just pick any because. How to convince parents that you are to marry outside of your culture? It's not really much else.
How to
convince someone's asking how do you convince your parents to marry outside of your culture?
Are you a man or the woman?
It's a guy.
It's a guy?
Yeah.
I guess you do it and then invite them, right? Technically, yeah, technically a man can marry himself. He doesn't have to, but you have to convince your mom and your dad. I don't know, to be honest with you. You're just going to have to be really, really nice to them. And hopefully they won't say no. They have to reciprocate the niceness back, right?
This is a good one, Tenan, I think. So someone's saying that him and his wife moved to a remote town with only 15,000 people. They're the only Muslims who have studied mantiq, aqidah, and like, I guess in general they've studied. But forgetting how to talk to normal people not steeped in kalam. Do you have any da'wah advice?
Yeah, probably... stop reading a little bit of those books for a little bit and hang out with the guys and listen. Don't talk. Just hang out, go to the guys' gatherings and listen. Don't talk. That's it. And that'll help you re-socialize. And then anything that they said, look it up. So you have a clue what they're talking about, right? You know that I met a brother, and this wasn't because he was in Taliban, but he was steeped in ilm. I'm not joking with you when I tell you. And he may be listening and get offended, but I'm saying this because it's so interesting. I can't not say it. The guy did not know who Michael Jordan was. Now, Michael Jordan is not someone they were rewarded to know about, right? It's just a marker, right? Right? It's not like we're saying, astaghfirullah, how could you not know who Imam Bukhari is, right? That's not the point. The shahid here is like, this is a very well-known name in all the world. That must mean that you closed off so much to the point that maybe it's too much. Like, that's probably too much. That's not, again, it's who cares who he is in reality, but it's sort of a sign that maybe there's too much being closed off here, right? Anyway, that brother is probably going to see this because we see him every Jummah, right? but no, we gave him the treatment. When he didn't know who Michael Jordan was, we gave him the treatment that day, right? Listen, we're gonna log off, guys, and we're gonna read this mysterious drones and manned aircraft being flown lawfully over New Jersey. What are we reporting so much on Syria? They're coming now. So, did you hear this?
No.
Shadee. Yeah, drones that cannot be detected. And even one guy, congressman, said they're Iranian. And the Pentagon said, no, they're lawful. We did it. We're flying these drones. Why are they flying those drones? We'll see. All right. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wal asr. Innal insana lafi khusr. Illa alladhina amanu wa amilus salihat wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. Wassalamu alaykum wa rahmatullah.
Aşkınla arasında yıldızlar kadar zikredin. Uzat şarabından için şu canı aşkla versinler. Ya Allah, kalbe şiir